I get the vibe that you're distant. There's something about you that's different. I see it in your eyes. Something isn't right. Tell me again what I'm missing. 'Cause you're fading out. We've been here before. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. Don't go through that door. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. It is a lie when you tell me that nothing is wrong, just leave it be. But I see it in your eyes. Something isn't right. Tell me again what I'm missing. 'Cause you're fading out. We've been here before. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. Don't go through that door. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll
Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody. You know what? It's July 4th is just around the corner.
It is.
Happy Independence Day. What day is July 4th?
It's on
Anybody
a
know?
Tuesday.
It's on a
It's next
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
so we're gonna have to might be skipping a week. I don't know.
Yes, I will say that I don't drink a whole lot or take too many days off, but July 4th is my day.
Okay, so we'll just announce that right up front. It'll be 2 weeks before you see us again. Rodney, good to see you. Good to see you. Do anything fun this weekend?
Just played golf, my typical summer stuff. Played golf and messed around with some. It was our weekend. I mean, our what do you call our member guests at our club here, Vanderbilt
Oh,
Legends Club. So I always invite my childhood friend. You know, me and my boy Mike grew up together, knew each other since we was about 13, and so I take him out there, and he's the opposite of a golfer. You know, a golfer that likes to inflate their handicap to win.
yes.
This guy he lowers his handicap and he can't play to it. So we're always getting killed by him. Like, Mike, you say you're handicapped, but you haven't broke 100 out here in 5 years. Come on, turn in your scores.
That's gotta be crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
What about
we
you?
no, go ahead. Oh, me? Yeah, nothing. I did a lot of YouTube work this weekend. That's just something I just enjoy doing that. I just enjoy it, you know. Put out a really good video. I'm real proud of yesterday. Cost of living in Franklin, Tennessee,
Oh,
and
nice.
it just turned out. It turned out great. And there's a couple of other thoughts that I thought you and I could talk about. We might even. I wonder if people would be interested, and because we don't, I mean, we don't have to commit to anything, but I wonder if people would be interested in um, a home buyer's um, live stream, like a guide to home buying, that kind of a thing. I wonder if we could work that. It'd have to be
Yeah.
separate from this one, but just, to bring people in where they can ask questions about getting loans, debt to income ratio, all of that kind of stuff, how to search for a house, because you can apply those principles anywhere, not just here. The principles that I use, the only exception would perhaps be around water. I don't know much about that, meaning ocean.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I mean, I'm dancing with the idea of having, what I'm trying to think of is home buyer seminars.
Hey,
That's what I'm
won't you
trying.
put you what do you call it? A counter, one of those things, a question,
A poll.
a poll. That's it.
Yeah, well, that's for the producer. Oh, wait. Today, okay, so today we've got a number of things came up, and of course, um, there was real estate news today that came out. Case Shiller report came out
Hmm.
today, so we've added that to the end of our list here. But the things that I wanted to touch base with about was some really interesting stuff about mortgage delinquencies, about Realtor.com, and how we've talked about them. It's a great company. I mean, they are. I mean, they're, I'm
Right.
part of it, but I'm proud of that organization,
Yeah.
National Association of Realtors and Realtor.com. And um, I'm proud of those guys. But we always talk about how they can sometimes have sort of a rose-colored glasses, a little bit sparkly in their thinking,
Hmm.
which they should do because that's their business, right?
Right.
Well, they've changed course, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
And then we've got a guy that, and this is an op-ed. I thought we'd add because that's what we do for an hour. It's just op-ed, right?
Yeah. That's
I
it.
have this. I woke up today and I got fired up and plugged into everything, Rodney, and I decided I really like this. I'm having fun with you, and when people show up and that kind of stuff, and our replays are going good, and I'm digging this. This is fun. Anyway,
Well, you
so
should. Yeah.
op-ed.
You're good. You're good at it. This is a good thing.
And then so we added the final little piece on there, which was about home prices and the Case-Shiller Index. We'll get into all of that. But first, what do we do every Tuesday? I think it's...
You know what time it is.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
I'm dancing. That's right. I didn't have that little button up there. I'd be hitting my weight. That's what I... Oh, yeah. And here we go with... There it is. Bing.
It's time. That wasn't as exciting as the buffer guy that does the UFC. You ever watch that? It's time.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Yeah. As you can see here today, we're not too far off. We're 12 basis points down, means that the rates are getting hit just a little bit. 12 basis points isn't a whole lot.
Hi, Angie.
And then the as you can see, it always follows the 10-year U.S. Treasury. It's as a Treasury's going up, our rates are getting worse. So you can kind of look at the candlestick charts. It was started off getting better this morning, but since then it's retracted a little bit. But just overall, you can see not much change here. So I still think we're holding steady. You know, back here was wasn't this the debt ceiling into May? Was that it? Or is that early June?
I can't remember. I try not to
and
think
then,
about it.
So I think we've seen a pretty good little gains. As long as we keep seeing green, we're going to be doing okay. So
good. All right.
Other than that, it's all good.
We're going to go to this one. I like this one better. See, that's got... Maybe we'll go to that one. No, we'll go to that one. I like it. So, hi, Wendy and Phil. Hi, guys. Hi, Angie. I snuck in a hi when you were talking there. Hi, Angie. Hi, everybody. So glad that you're here. Get ready for, we're just talking. We're going to probably skip next week and, cook a hot dog or something.
That's right.
But anyway, so Rodney approached earlier this week and threw out an idea on a topic that I think is really good, and it is median price versus appreciation, because he said there's some confusion on that. So Rodney, sir, take it away.
All right. Yes. Median price versus appreciation. Everybody, I'm getting a lot of people confused, and I don't have any paperwork for that, Andy, or slides or anything. But I'll just try to explain it like this. The easiest way, I got some notes over here. The easiest way I can explain median pricing, let's say that 5 houses sold at 350, 400, 450, 500, and 550, right? So if you took the middle one, out of all those, the median house price would be 450 because it's right in the middle. Now, that's basically the median house prices of everything selling. Now, since the median house pricing has been dropping, everybody thinks that their appreciation or their house values are dropping. And that's just not the case. What's happening is that 350 last year, I think Case-Shiller just come out, you just talked about that, and it was like 3.6 that included certain things, but there's another thing that said in 2022 house appreciation was at 6%. So if you took the 350 house after that year, it would be worth 371. 400 would be worth 424, and 450 would be worth 477. Just a 6% increase on those three numbers. Now, what I'm seeing and what my view is you take these same houses, the 350 all the way to 550. Just say, for example, I don't think the 500 and the 550s are selling. So now we only got, since less is selling, the bottom end of this scale is selling more. So we've had a 350 scale, a 350 sale, a 400 sale, and a 450 sale. So that means the median price would drop down to 400 in that scenario. But by the time you put the, but it didn't affect the appreciation. So really it would be 424 a year later. But since the larger homes, in my opinion, aren't selling as fast and as many times, they're not going in the pool, which is pulling the median price down. But it has nothing to do with the appreciation that the house made for that year or the year, this year, now, or anything. It just means that the higher priced homes are selling not as fast. So you take those out of the equation, the median price has to drop. And now there's a couple other factors I think come into play. One, you have less inventory, a lot less inventory on these on the bigger side. Two, you still got the rate battle. If somebody's buying 300, they're not as concerned about that rate as maybe a 700 person would be as concerned if the 700 person has more income after all their expenses and things like that. So, and then the last one, there's probably more need on the lower end of this scale, with family changes and things like that. If you've got some person in $1 million house, they may not have to move. That may be a want for them. So they're staying put with a better rate right now. And that's why I think the median price is going down, but we are still seeing appreciation in the homes that we have.
And I
so
think
that's clear as mud.
That clear, absolutely clear as mud. Yep. And I think that's a part of the reason that the average, when you're talking about average pricing, it's so different because it just depends on the group that's buying for average. I mean, I've got my statistics open. I always do when we're on this, just in case. And the difference between median and average is remarkable. It's really remarkable. And yet Terry used to say that median just had no meaning. I think that's changed now. I think that's changed. Well, that helped. That helped.
Yeah, I mean, it's just don't confuse the two, right? Median has nothing to do with appreciation. Median is just what's selling at this time. The median of what's selling.
Yeah, that's right. And I tell you what, and you know what, when you mention that, I tell you what, to illustrate your point or to strengthen your point, I've got an article up here. I'll show you. Bing, pops this way. And I've learned a new trick, man. Look at this. I've learned a new trick. See how it is. Look. I can scroll this around. Okay. So, something that I thought would be interesting, because what you're talking about is a good example of median. Like in Williamson County, the median price, you know what the median in Brentwood is?
Yeah, who knows?
1.2.
Yeah.
It's 1.2 median. That's what that is. That's what the median is for that. Let me look that up. Williamson County, homes for sale. Can't make it work. Oh, here we go. Anyway, median's pretty high.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to show you was, seems like I got off track there for a second, was this article was America's top cities for home sellers where swift sales at high prices are still going strong. And the reason I bring this up is because we're talking about how real estate is so local. Like we've got Angie out west. She's got one particular market. We got Phil and Wendy here. They've got another market. We're in Williamson County. We're in a different market altogether over here. And it says, with the news this month that the housing market hit a milestone by showing the first year-over-year price decline in recent memory. And this is a recent article, a recent memory. Homeowners who consistently finally selling their home this year are finding themselves discouraged yet again, which speaks exactly to what Angie was saying. Prices aren't dropping because sellers aren't putting them on the market. That's what this article is about. But there's still cities where buyers continue to snatch up homes quickly and where sellers are getting full asking price or more. The best places for these sellers, and if you notice, I noticed this as I was reading through some stuff this week, when news articles, whether it be economists or whatever, when they say the economy is good for real estate, what they almost always talk about is for buyers. If prices are down, they're talking about the benefit, seems to me, unless I'm missing something, for buyers. I mean, if prices are up, I'm the seller, I'm celebrating. There's two sides to that. Anyway, I keep picking up the wrong mouse, sorry. All right, so the best place for sellers, the reason I mentioned that, have persistently low housing inventory, strong demand from buyers, and often, but not always, lower prices that have room to swell. These are generally affordable metropolitan areas in the Northeast with a few in the Midwest. And here's a map. There we go. Of Rochester, New York, Hartford, all that, Portland, Worcester, Allentown, Virginia Beach, which is the only one in the South, notice. San Jose was an outlier for sure, Providence and Toledo. But here's what I said all of that to say this. This is this is what you can get. I'm going to pull us down to just share. That you can get this house for $265,000. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Hartford, Connecticut. Look at this, $424,000. Now, isn't that interesting? I'm comparing it to what we are used to here in Williamson County, Tennessee. Median, that's quite a house, fenced yard, all that kind of stuff. There's one I'm coming to. Portland, Maine, $622,000. Lovely area. Never been up there to Maine. Nice house. Worcester, I think is how you say it. Massachusetts, $517,000. That's a pretty common house up there. Allentown, that's pretty cool looking place. And these are all median prices, but look at this thing. Man.
Dang.
I could live in that. The only problem is it's not in a place I'm familiar with, but Virginia Beach, Virginia. So we're down to getting close to the ocean, I would suspect. But a reason I mention all that is, man, when people hear like the average United States, what is it now? For the United States, the median sale price in the United States now is $418,000. For somebody that can't afford that, thinks and I think this is probably to your point, they think that they're out of the running. And that's not the truth.
Not at all. Yeah, look at this. Look at the San Jose, the oddball on the list, they call it. Did you look at that one?
Yeah, look at that. That's a nice little house. I wonder I bet that's nice. 1.5.
Yeah. 1.5. Yeah, I mean, and it's honestly not much different than the other ones you've seen, but it's $1 million more,
Golly, that's amazing. Providence, that East Coast stuff, and Toledo, Ohio. I'm from Findlay, Ohio, so yeah, hi to all our Toledo friends.
Toledo's in the
house. So the only reason I bring that up is that I thought it's really interesting because even here in Franklin, if you're in the market for a $300,000, $300,000 to $400,000 house, I'm telling you, they're out there. Now, are they mansions? No. But are they available? Yeah. I mean, they are, but there's just not many of them, like between 3 and 4. I'll bet you this month there's 6,
Yeah.
Some of them aren't too good. So here's the question I had for you about the next thing I wanted to talk about was the mortgage delinquency rate drops to a near record low. Now, do you have any particular opinions on that?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is that's that's good news, and um, you know what's crazy? The first thing I thought is that when I see this, I feel like the government's going to try to keep rates up high until we hit some kind of recession like this. You know, when mortgage delinquencies are this good, it's lower than pre-pandemic levels. But I'm not surprised. It's been that way for a long time. You know, it's been that way ever since the government did the changes after 2008, the Dodd-Frank and the CFPB and all that stuff, where great underwriting has taken place across the board, where people are actually, it's more about sustainable home ownership now than it ever was. So I see these numbers as it's what they tried to do after the crash in 08, 06 and 08.
And so what I'm hearing you say, and I'm going to check you on this, is
Check it.
What they're waiting for those numbers to go up a little bit to know that they've hit their limit. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying that, you know, we've talked about foreclosures. We probably bring it up once a month or something about this right here. And when the delinquency rate is at a drops near record low is what it's saying.
Yes.
And I think it's there because the same thing. One, we have had really good underwriting since the crash, right?
I agree.
So home ownership sustainability was a huge focus in that movement, which this shows that it's taken place, right? That mortgage people have qualified these, and people are buying things they can afford. But is like, is the government wanting us to hit some sort of recession before we pull out of this real estate market? Like, is a recession needed to get the full balance back into place?
Because they're trying to get to 2%, right? I mean, that's
Right.
their target.
So, you know, this is saying America's doing good. You know, this would not be a factor of a recession, right?
Right.
No mortgage, less mortgage rates.
Yep. Do you know how, the big companies, I don't have any names, nor would I put any out, but, like especially around this area, there's apartment complexes, and there's huge companies that have these just huge apartment complexes.
Mm-hmm.
And I had made friends with one of the managers of those places years ago. Do you know how they establish, and I couldn't believe it, do you know how those companies establish the upper end for the pricing on their apartments? Do you know?
I have no clue.
And it takes a while, but what they do is they'll raise prices until people start to leave, and then they back it down. They push it to where people, I can't stand it anymore, and they start to leave, and they know that they've hit the emotional limit on the rents, which, by the way, these days is now going down. Rent costs are going down. We don't talk about that a lot, but we frankly should, because renters convert directly into our pool.
But I think that the renter, it's went up ridiculously so much. It needs to go down just to get even close to back to even where it needs to be, in my opinion. But hey, when things start going good, you know what's going to happen? The rent's going to go right back up. I mean,
well, here, let's talk about that then. Well played. So I kind of introduced to Realtor.com and their sparkly attitude, rose-colored glasses, and I don't mean that negatively. I don't. But if you lined up 25 analysts.
Right.
They're going to be on the positive side when it comes down to the housing market, as that's just their deal. And they've been even called out on that in this particular article from the Market Insider. And Realtor.com has re-examined, here it is, here's the headline, rattled housing market prompts a reversal on 2023 forecast with home prices and rents, speaking to what we were talking about a second ago, now expected to fall. Realtor.com has, I've outlined a few things on this, and I'm not laughing. I always say this because it's a habit of mine. When I'm laughing like this, not because it's funny, it's because I kind of can't believe it a lot of times. Realtor.com has re-examined its prior housing predictions and now expects a dip in prices and rents. Should I play that guy with 35%? What did he say?
Yeah, his formula or whatever.
Yeah, 45% price drop in Nashville. Get out now.
Yeah, right. No, but I like this. If you go into that article, what I liked is that not only they provide an update of what they thought, which people change their projections all the time, right? But what I did like is multifamily construction projects expanded 24% year over year, easing rental shortages. Homeowners are largely unwilling to refinance their mortgages. They're more inclined to rent out their properties, adding to tenant options. I mean, asking rents are expected to fall, whether a particular tenant is going to find rents are lower depending on when they've last moved. So I like how they go into the factors of why they are adjusting these figures, which, it makes total sense, right? That these
100%.
things would happen.
And I think that gives me, I tell you what, all of them change. Meaning we've seen over the past, 6-7 months, whatever length of time we've been doing it, we've seen Redfin and Zillow bounce around unceremoniously. I mean, they've been kind of going whacked, But this gives me a lot of confidence in these guys because at least they're calling themselves out, basically, saying, hey,
right.
For everybody, it's best guess.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not everybody readjusts their projections. A lot of those guys that we review, they throw out a projection and it'll be see you later, alligator, and you won't see them till next year projection time again. But yeah, I mean, this makes sense. It's like, okay, the rates have went up. Commercial properties, they're not going crazy, and the other inventory is expected to jump. Home sales were falling. So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
And again, they bring up the point. She says, and Danielle Hales, I've got a lot of respect for this woman. She's the analyst, core analyst for Realtor.com. But she said downgrading the 2023 outlook does not signal a major wave of relief, clearly biased to the buyer.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, because the relief is less money,
Yeah. I mean, it just say, I think her last comment. It means affordability will start to improve, but not drastically. I mean,
right.
So, which is, that's good news for the buyer too, right? So
yeah, home costs are still going to be higher, but price declines will be very mild, not universal. So the way they phrase this, and I think that you cover, if I overstep what you talked about, I apologize. So Realtor.com re-examined housing market predictions, pointed in opposite directions. The real estate company now expects average home list prices to drop 0.5% from last year compared to its prior prediction of a 5.4% rise. I mean, so that's, call it 6% shift in direction. That's pretty sizable. It now presents a 0.9% dip in rents this year. Again, the second somebody becomes uncomfortable with renting and they start to look towards the housing market, then we're going to have a little more difficulty because we're going to have more and more buyers with the same low inventory. And that's kind of what I'm getting at there.
Yep.
To be sure the initial oh yeah. To be sure the initial outlook largely, and we did this, I think we did this thing with like 27 analysts. To be sure the initial outlook, meaning Realtor.com and Daniel Hale's optimistic view, largely went against the grain of what other analysts were saying would happen. And Chief Economist Daniel Hale seemed to acknowledge that. So good for her, you know? So,
Yeah.
Oops. We made a bold call that home prices wouldn't go down in 2023. We're wrong.
Well, I'll say this. You know, I was heard another projection just that they're still. I think even the Case Shiller come out was expecting a 2.6 something increase year over year. I mean, well, not year over year, but in 23. I mean, another group was projecting 6%, appreciation over in 2023. So, yeah, when they're talking about losing 0.5%, it's but it definitely could if say rates stay up, 7%. I would tend to go with the higher estimates versus the lower ones.
Yeah, and I mean, people put a lot of stock, as I think they should, in Case Shiller. And again, I know we've mentioned this a lot, but anybody that watches those kinds of market, Case Shiller is specific. No townhouses, no commercial properties, and only properties, homes, single-family dwellings that have been sold before. And those are the only properties that they measure, and they measure a bunch of them, you know. But I think that what interests me as we watch these guys, all of us, ourselves included, is nobody knows what's going to happen. And all we can do, which, by the way, are we 2 weeks out from me being right about the Fed funds rate? Did I pretty much plant that in your face last week? Oh, no, anyway.
You did. You got 2 in a row. I went a little on a limb that last one. Got me.
But we can see things that are gonna affect the market. But just like these guys, and these people are eye-wateringly good with data, and it's still best guess because day to day nobody knows what the market's going to do.
Right,
it's an interesting thing, and I'm telling you, I believe, like Rodney, if we're positive about the market, if we look at the high side, we'll be just fine. And I think that the majority of people do. Of course, we've got our 50% crash rate guy. Well, we can always depend on him to be negative. So,
yeah. My story, I'm sticking to it. It's you don't have a better time to buy right now. I mean, if you need to buy, you need to buy. You need to go buy. You do not. The sitting on the fence right now is crazy. Because you still have an opportunity to negotiate and do all this. When these rates get lower and no inventory, I'm telling you, it's going to be as bad as it was for first-time home buyers.
It really is, because aren't we getting a projection? They were interesting. They said, however, prices did fall this year, particularly in the most expensive regions like the West. We predicted that. The places that blew up over COVID, those are the ones that took a hit. We know that. Home costs are still going to be higher in 23. The West Coast cities saw a price plunge much 10%. Yep, we knew that. But then we get into the rent. It says as homeowners are largely unwilling to finance their mortgage, just like you said, more inclined to rent out their properties, adding to the tenant options. And we were talking about that rent calculation that we did last week. That was pretty interesting how they figure that out, where I figure out how much my rent would change for a house that I pay the same amount that per month that I did 5 years ago. We'll see what the rent change on that. So 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 Realtor.com downgraded the 23 predictions, and we're almost done with this one. Instead of housing inventory jumping nearly 23% this year, it now sees a 5% drop. That's not good. Home sales are now expected to fall 16% to 4.2. We're normally pushing close to 5 to 6, the lowest since 2012, and down from an early prediction for 14% decline. Mortgage rates are seen slipping. This is what I was trying to get to. They're predicting, and again, it's a prediction, that rates are going to slip to 6.1. Now, what do you think would happen if they drop to 6.1?
Ooh, I think it'd be good. I think it'd be the start of good. I think it would be the start of a decent wave of buyers entering the market. And then once I think we get under 6%, I think a lot of the others would be falling, especially if it gets mid fives or lower.
Well,
I think that would get some of our pin-up demand, local demand, people listing and buying, things like that.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. They're talking about, and again, this is just prediction, dropping to 6.1 where they had before had expected 7.1, and it never, I don't think it hasn't actually touched 7.1. Close to it though.
Yeah.
But I'll bet you're going to see you would see a change at 6.5. If people saw a 6.5, they'd be like, "What?" It's because it's been 6.9 now for seems like forever.
The problem every time it gets below 6.5, 6.25, something happens, and here we go. We see that red take off, and my candlesticks aren't happy.
Yeah, and she ends up with her thought. Daniel Hale, a realtor, she said, "Well, the Federal Reserve has indicated a couple more raises in rates, and I expect that because they're going to keep after this inflation thing until it is where they want it to be." But she said mortgage rates will start to should retreat when that cycle is done. Because when that second one is done, if they're close to where they want to be, people are going to start being pretty positive, I think.
Yeah, I think that, and that's just, I think that's their, the government's way of keeping it high, artificially high, just like they kept it artificially low. The one good thing about that is, if you've seen, the bank deposits have increased. And when bank deposits increase, they're not selling all those mortgage-backed securities and all the treasuries to raise money again. And so that was putting upward pressure on mortgage rates as well. So with banks deposits finally starting to go up again, that was a good sign as well.
Are debts still going up? Like credit card debt, is that still going up?
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen much on that. I haven't looked at that.
Yeah, I think that it could be better. I think that people are probably getting stretched, but at any rate, so I find that bottom line, and we always like to do a takeaway on these things, is Realtor.com. The takeaway is they made their adjustments. Now we'll just have to wait for the next couple of months and see how close they were. But again, what does this reinforce? The message we've been saying for weeks on end. And I don't know that I love the metaphor, but I agree with it. We're going to be dragging along the bottom for a while.
We're beat up from the bottom. We've been dragging for a minute.
So there was an article, and this is going to be right onto what Rodney is constantly preaching in a very good way. It was an op-ed piece about, can you sell a slovenly home? I'm going to show you a picture. If you hope you haven't just had lunch. That's tough. Is this locked? Am I locked? Ooh.
Yeah, I don't even, you can probably imagine the appraisals I've seen, but
the reason I show you that, because I've gone into listings, frankly, that's worse than that. if you can believe it. And I have to think that there's a medical condition involved with that. But the point of this guy was talking about was that he'd gone out, looks like a few years ago, and visited a lot of properties like that.
Yeah.
Look at that again. Oh, sorry. I don't know where it went. Sorry.
Yeah, that's
And I'm just saying that he's looking in the wrong category. That's his problem, not mine.
yeah. Is this coming from, where, because our last market, they would not, the seller would not fix anything.
Anything, which is my whole point.
I mean, and so is this a direct correlation as people don't think they need to clean their house or get it ready to sell it anymore? I mean,
It is. I did a video for the, I'm going to call it the lower end because call it the lower spectrum in Franklin. As I mentioned before, 300 to 400 is about as low as you go. There might be something less than that, but I'm not sure. But one of the properties that the MLS, it looked like that. And I was like, holy mackerel. And your point is that's that hot market hangover when somebody still thinks that they can put a cardboard sign in their yard and sell it in 2 minutes and they don't have to fix anything. So yeah, that's not true anymore. So
good. Because people need to be able to buy a safe house and go through it, and this one actually doesn't look too crazy bad to me versus some of the other ones I've seen. But I mean, this is like you couldn't sell this house, like right? I mean, you would have to walk in and say like,
but that's an MLS picture.
Yeah,
that's an MLS. And but if you're saying you couldn't sell that house, you couldn't pull it off. That's not true. And now I'm gonna jump in here.
I couldn't. Rodney couldn't. Rodney's in the mortgage business. Rodney would walk in and be like, "Hey, you got to clean everything out of here." Like, who's gonna buy this?
Well, let me tell you a story. One time, I was up in Mansker. I think it's called Mansker's Ridge or something like that. I was up near Hendersonville. Nicest people. Talked to them on the phone. Had a listing appointment. Went up there. And when I got to this house, have you ever seen that show? I don't watch it, but I know that it exists. Have you seen the show Hoarders?
Yeah,
Hoarders?
I know.
You're familiar with it. Familiar with it. When I opened the door to come in, it was that.
Yeah.
and I had to decide: am I going to go in and pitch this woman for listing this house, or am I going to get the hell out of here? And because it was one of Terry's, I had to go through with it. And so I said, can we sit down? And she goes, yeah, come out in the kitchen. And there was her seat and one other seat in a kitchen that you couldn't turn around except the dog had done his...
Oh no!
And I'm just, I don't know why I'm telling you that story, except to say, because I was trying to decide if I'm going to open up my laptop and try to pitch this woman or just leave and just tell Terry to can't do it, but I went ahead. And here was the thing that surprised me. And I'm laughing, not because I think it's funny. I just couldn't believe that it was happening. I said, that if we list this, we're probably going to have to declutter a little bit, which was declutter. Jeez.
Was that the magic word?
That wasn't even that one. That was declutter. Have to just knock it down. But at any rate, and she said, "Is there a problem?" And was serious. That's why I said I think there must have been some stuff going on, because are you sure? Because we really wanted to sell it as is. God, I couldn't believe it. Anyway, guess who got that listing?
Nice. I had a buyer that the appraiser had a few pass through the house. and that was it. That's all. That was the only access he had was, and everything else. And it wasn't all. The good thing about this one was he was like it wasn't all trash. Like, I've heard, like, that show shows a lot of craziness, but this one was just a lot of stuff, but no.
Well, yeah, and this wasn't trash. I don't know that I'm going to call it trash, like garbage that's been just dumped, but it was stacks of paper and boxes and toys from 40 years ago. And I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know that picture. That's the reason I pulled that thing. Cause I was like, wow, do I ever remember that?
It feels like, you had some flashbacks or something from that picture. So,
I almost started drinking again.
I don't want to say Civil War flashbacks, but like.
So the guy in this here was his question. Here's a question I have for real estate professionals out there. Have you found yourself in a situation where your client's home is something of a mess? That's where that story came from. And if so, how do you respond? Which I just explained. Are you diplomatic about the absence of cleanliness in the residence and suggest a bit of vacuuming, or as Angie said, a bulldozer? It could be the ka-ching factor, or you just say nothing and hope for the best. I just wanted to respond to that. The way that I responded to all of these, because I'd had many variations of that same story down through the years, and the way that I put it was always the same way. I would put it in terms they would understand. If you leave it in this condition, you're going to recover X number of dollars. If you clean it up and make it nice, you're going to recover X plus $100,000. Oh, that much? Yes, that much. Yeah. And then because I can't tell them to clean it up. All I can do is motivate them to take action to get a higher sales price.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so I always talk to them in terms they seem to understand, and then we'd find a middle ground. Because this lady in the end wasn't willing to clean it out. She wasn't. And she probably lost, I don't know, back in the day, it was $180,000. That was a bunch back up in there, But somebody, saved $180,000 and they had to clean it out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a bad deal. You can replace carpet and paint for $180,000.
Yeah.
Did you see the real estate I loved one of these responses. Somebody was practiced for 20 years in Beverly Hills. I sold homes on the west side of Los Angeles, Westwood, Pacific Palisades, Beverly Hills. Basically, so if the client did not care to clean up after himself, that was his problem, not mine. So, they this one in Beverly Hills was just rolling on, whether it was clean or not. So,
but that was, to this day, that was the worst ever. That was my top limit. I couldn't. When the dog took a dump in the kitchen and she did nothing about it, I thought, wow. You want me to? Do I need to wait? And she goes, no, it'll dry. What?
Oh my gosh!
I've crossed the line. I'm sorry. I've crossed the line. So,
we just have a new line on the show. You hadn't crossed
it. I couldn't believe it. Boy, did I have, when I went back to the office, it was funny. I had some stories to tell. I had everybody rolling in the aisles. I'll tell you that. The dog did what? All right. So we're going to finish this thing up with the Case-Shiller Index. And here it says, home prices rose for the third straight month in April. Now, it takes them a quarter to catch up.
Right.
And when they put out their index, unless I'm mistaken, it's not like the government that they'll put out a number and then revise it 2 weeks later. I think that Case-Shiller, when they put this out, they stick with it. But so home price trends are caught in a tug of war between stretched buyer budgets and limited inventory, forcing competition despite reduced affordability. Here's Daniel Hell again. With high mortgage rates, keeping 1 in 7 homeowners from selling. It's just a broken record. It's a broken
It really
record.
is, isn't it? It really is, isn't it? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And so but prices rose for the third. But isn't that odd? And yet she's saying that prices are going to go down. I've never been able
Well,
to get my head around that, and I'm pretty good with numbers. But
well,
yeah, I mean,
they're projecting out for 2023. They're projecting out for the rest of this year.
yeah,
So I think after all the revisions of what the rates are supposed to do, stay in the high sixes, low, sevens, whatever, bouncing off this 7 mark. I
right.
think that's what everybody's planning now, is just kind of jerking back some numbers, because they were, what everybody was waiting for, home buying season that's came, and without much flair, right? So I think, with the way the market is, the way everything else is, they're just going to status quo, and rates probably not going to improve till late in the year or next year.
Yeah, home prices in April was still down 0.2% compared with April 22, according to S&P CoreLogic. Another boy, they're CoreLogic. They were, however, a 0.5% higher month to month after seasonal adjustments. Prices are now just 2.4% below their June 22 peak, which is saying something. Miami, Chicago, and Atlanta were still seeing big gains in April, with prices up 5.2, 4.1, and 3.5 year over year, respectively, when compared to a year ago. The price declines were larger in April than in March. So, price declines were larger in April than in March, and yet home prices rose.
Too few on the inventory. I mean, there's too few to choose from.
Yep.
Where, I mean, everything is still, you go to what you call a hot market, everything is, you still have people paying over list.
Well, and it boils down to what we were talking about, the guy in the dirty house. And I'm not making fun, all due respect. There has to be outside issues for that kind of a thing. But the bottom line is, I mean, I'm going to knit this on a hat, or I'm going to make a hat out of it, but move-in ready gets the highest price, and around here it gets multiple offers.
Yeah.
And that's just it. The days on market. I mean, if you were to look at the inventory around here, it's down to 2 months,
Yeah.
So.
And I think is it less than that nationwide?
Let's look. Let's see. National average, home number, wholesale median price. Now, again, that's just national housing supply. Number of homes for sale, 1.4. Down. That's not correct, I don't think. Really? Okay. Newly listed, 439 median days, 31, 2 months of supply.
Okay.
Sold above. What was your question? I forgot already.
It was, is the supply going down?
Oh, inventory. Well, I'll tell you what, it sure is here. This is Davidson and Williamson, flat.
Okay.
I mean, that's flat. And this right here is, of course, this is January. That's a pretty slow curve for January. Because, I mean, normally that's, man, that's all right. Anyway, any final thoughts there, Rodney?
No, man, it's just keep doing the good deed. Keep seeing how this market is affecting the houses and rental and commercial. And Angie had a question there: is better to sell in 2024? I'm looking at the best. I guess when you sell is, heck, hang on to it forever. You never sell it; it's going to keep going up. I don't know. That's the key. I mean,
in terms of selling, my opinion on that, and it's your last comment there actually speaks to the one before it. It said lots of people are blinded by good decorating too, and so better sell in 2024. I'm telling you that if you fix up a house that looks like, pardon me, a model home, which is minimalist, um, neutral colors, that kind of stuff, make a house look like all they'd have to bring in was a suitcase and a bag of groceries, and you will maximize your dollars. I don't care if it's this market or not. If you'll do that, the chances are good you're going to get multiple offers. And that is how you extract the most dollars from your house, period, and make the outside, the curb appeal is, it's not everything, but it is 60% of it. If somebody pulls up to your house and goes, God, that's beautiful, you have set the tone for them to pay top dollar once they walk in. And don't do the baking cookies and that kind of thing. That's just a trick that everybody knows. And they're like, wait a minute, what are you hiding, Just have it clean, that kind of stuff. But I'm telling you, if you want to make, and another thing that works, if you know that you're going to move, and if you've lived in your house like mine, if I were to sell, I'd have some decluttering to do because I've lived here for a while and I would just have to. In order to sell the most, if you declutter and get stuff off the floor, people can see your square footage. For example, for people with walk-in closets, we used to have this discussion with people. And they would have, a 10 by, I've sold big houses, 10 by 20 square foot, big walk-in closets.
Yeah.
And I would tell them, clean this out except for the hanging clothes. And they would go, why? There's plenty of room. And it's because if you've got the edges of it filled with shoes and boxes and stuff like that, a buyer can't see that square footage. As soon as you clear out that square footage in the closet, it looks huge by comparison. Yeah. And the same thing with like in your living room, get rid of the extra love seat that maybe you don't use, or get rid of all the, minimize is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
That way people can, if you've got a 3,000 square foot house, try to get it so people can see all of that, They're going, man, this is huge. Because it sells different. I'm telling you, it makes a huge difference. And then once you've sold. And like Rodney said, you move on with your life. The best you can do is recover the most dollars you can from the places you got for sale, and then just plant your flag someplace else and start doing it again.
Yeah.
The house is always clean, but so much stored stuff. 25 years. See, I know exactly what you're talking about. So I don't know that I finished the thought. You can rent a pod, or a U-Pack, or, one of those pods, and you can put your extra stuff in there and store it off site. Just if it's stuff you haven't used in 5 years, pod that stuff, Yeah.
Yeah. My wife needs a lesson on that. She saves everything.
Yeah.
I throw everything away, and if we move, we've been in the same house, I guess 10 or 12 years, been married 20 plus. So she's saves everything.
Yeah. So I think to answer your question directly though, so sell better, so better to sell in 24. My answer to that is, if you think that there's going to be a better number, you're always going to be chasing that better number. So I wouldn't say that's the truth. When it's time for you to move, make your house as nice as it can be based on what we're talking about, and move. Because next year we're going to have the same daggone questions, and we'll be just saying, so will it be better to move in 25? We'll just be
right
kicking that can all the way down the road. So yeah. The garage alone, some tools, clear out that garage, make it big enough for 2 cars or 3, depending on what it is. Cool. I'm starting to think Rodney's wife.
She definitely doesn't. She doesn't even know. She doesn't even know I go to work every day. I don't think. So,
Enough of that. That was fun. I didn't mean to get off. Well, I did get off on a tangent, but that's yeah, you can do that. For anybody that watches that, I kid you not, that's the deal. If it's time to move, just move. Don't try to time in the market. What did you say? It's not timing the market, it's time in the market, right? Right. Yes.
yeah, I'm going with you.
Whatever. All right. So we'll see you in 2 weeks, Rodney.
2 weeks.
2
Y'all
weeks.
have a great 4th.
Wendy, Phil, Angela. Angela? What's that come from? Angie. See y'all. Have a happy holiday. And where's my thing? I don't know where's my thing? Oh, there it is. Bye.